project is something that is, although it has a common stream, each student is able to individualize that flute and the knowledge of that flute to their own culture and their own connections. So I think that in itself allows them to make connections between their culture and the Aboriginal culture, which is, I think, one of the main reasons that we do projects like this, is to celebrate the First Nations culture and also to connect it to all of the wonderful things that we see in other cultures.
On these pipes there are 6 holes. Now we have to drill 3 different sizes. The very first hole, closest to these 2 little squares, is going to be drilled with this green bit. I know it's green because it has green wrapped around it. Okay? And that's the only one that's going to be green. And Mrs. Newton's going to do the first one. What's going to happen, she's going to take her pipe, she's going to put it on here, and then she's going to put, with this little handle, she's going to bring it down until she thinks that the drill is perfectly over top of that little tiny hole. When she says go, then I'll start the drill. And you're going to have to do the same thing. When you get it lined up perfectly and you say go, I'll start the drill. After you're down the hole, which will end up looking just like this one, okay? You're going to come over here to Mrs. Tracy. And you're just going to take this owl or bird and just kind of spin it around in there so that it gets a nice, instead of being a square hole, it's kind of a beveled hole. And you'll be able to tell what that means when you see the so the top edge won't be an inclined plane. Very good, yes. Simple machine. This is a screw, okay? Simple machine screw, which goes inside.
And it's a wedge.
And it's also a wedge. Very good.
And learning simple. And also wedge.
You're learning simple machines inside.
The drill's also a wedge.
Yes, it is. All right?
Something like the Flute Project is really interesting to incorporate into the curriculum, because not only does it connect to specific outcomes and content area things, there are so many skills that are integrated throughout the whole thing that students really engage all of the different pieces of our learning in something like the Flute Project. We use the design process in science. Students drew up a design of how they were going to build the flute and design the flute. For language arts, they looked at the meaning of different symbols and incorporating those in their flutes, and they wrote either text notes or left voice notes about what those specific symbols and colors meant to them personally. There were math components involved where they had to measure different things, and they used things like symmetry on the bags that they designed and on the flute themselves. And I mean, that doesn't even get close to the amount of information that we gathered about the use of flutes by Aboriginal cultures. They're the next instrument aside from drums in importance to Aboriginal cultures, and how those were incorporated in traditions and celebrations and what they meant. And it was interesting because students themselves then looked at their own culture and how things like flutes were incorporated there. So there were some extension pieces as well. I think one of the most important things that they enjoy about school-wide projects like this is the fact that they really get to approach it from a very personal level. Students who have the design plan and the details ready to go and they know what they're planning, those students immediately have access to the resources and to volunteers who can support that. And then there are other students who really like to process that information and make connections to different parts of their lives and different memories they have. And sometimes it takes a student up to 2 months to really think about the details that they want to incorporate. Another thing that really appeals to students about school-wide projects like this is that it incorporates different aspects of universal design and multiple intelligences. There are so many hands-on activities, there's math involved, there are nature aspects, there's culture. Most of the flute activities are done in a very social atmosphere, so there's a lot of peer conversation, but the really important piece I think that the Flute Project brings to this is that it pulls community into the school, and students see mentors and they see models and they see elders from many different cultures, people who are willing to spend the time and support their efforts and communicate information to them that really supports their understanding but also their social growth. And I think that is one of the most important aspects.
So much watching the children choose their colors, tell the stories about their families. The very act of choosing the materials and colors and patterns is stimulating these fascinating conversations about all sorts of subject areas. It's stimulating conversations about where families came from, what symbols are significant to them, the kinds of things that are important in their cultures and their communities.
Hi Carter.
Hi.
Can you please explain why you chose this design for your flute?
Because my family's heritage came from the UK. Yeah.
So you put that flag on?
Yeah.
Very nice. This is Emily. And here's her flute. What did you use to draw on your flute?
I used the heart stencil for the hearts. And I used this flower stencil.
And why did you choose that design?
Because I thought it would look really cool, like how the vines go down.
Yeah, it all has vines and flowers.
Side up. Then I make sure my nest is down.
Oh,
and I put that over top. Pop. Give it a pop.
stuck in there.
And it is the exact length that the plug has to go in so that it's going to work to stop the sound. So you now take this, and I'm using Abby's. I put it over top, and I'm just going to bang it down till I cannot see any more of that thing. All the way down. Now it's good. So once this goes in all the way, and there's nothing left, then you're good. Next part. This thing is called a nest, right?
Yes.
This is the bird. The bird goes in the nest. The way the bird goes in the nest, if you look at your nest, there's a raised portion there. On the bird, there's an indent. The indent goes over top of the raised portion. Okay? Once you've got that done, Bring it to me because I have to tape that into place so it doesn't move.
Now that I have the bird, now I can play my flute.
We have to tie a little knot at the end, and it takes about the length of your thumb's worth of strap to do that. The way you put the feather on is you just have to take a bead and slide the feather in between the leather and the beads, and that'll hold the feather on.
Here's Vincent.
I chose the colors of the medicine wheel. Now I have the bird and makes sounds now.
The Flute Project engaged so many different aspects of music learning that it really allowed for the Manitoba music curriculum to be used as a cohesive whole. Students developed the skills necessary to make music on their flutes and had opportunities to perform for a variety of audiences. Students each composed and recorded their own personal song for their flute, and students made connections between our flute project and the Aboriginal culture through learning about the history of the flute, its roles and purposes in the Aboriginal culture, and the styles and traditions associated with the flute.